The sun was sinking behind the red hills when Daniel saw movement near the riverbank. He had been walking alone for hours, searching for a signal on his broken communicator. His spaceship had crashed the night before, and this planet was quiet, too quiet. The wind carried strange sounds like whispers and low growls from far away. Then he saw it, a figure lying near the water, its silver-blue skin glinting under the dying light. At first, Daniel thought it was a trick of his tired eyes, but when he came closer, he realized it was alive. The creature was breathing fast, clutching its side where dark purple blood leaked onto the sand. Its eyes, large and bright like glass orbs, opened and met his. There was fear in them, but also pain. Daniel looked around. There was no one else, no ship, no other sign of life. He knelt beside the being. "Hey, can you hear me?" he whispered, unsure if it could understand him. The creature didn't speak, but its hand moved slightly toward the river. Its lips were cracked and dry. Daniel understood it needed water. He filled his flask and gently lifted the alien's head. "Easy," he said, pouring the cool water slowly. The being swallowed weakly, its throat moving with effort. When it finished, it gave a faint sound, a hum that rose and faded like music. Then its eyes closed again. Daniel stayed with it through the night, building a small fire with broken branches. The alien's wounds looked bad, but he cleaned them with what little supplies he had. It flinched but didn't resist. Every now and then, strange lights flickered in the distance, pale green orbs that moved through the forest watching. Daniel tried to ignore them, but a deep unease settled in his chest. When dawn came, the alien was gone. There were no footprints, no trail, nothing, just the marks where it had lain. Daniel felt a strange emptiness, as if the being had taken a part of his thoughts with it. He went back to repairing the wreckage of his ship. Hours passed. Then he heard a sound that made him freeze, a deep rumbling that grew louder and closer. The ground began to tremble. Daniel climbed on a rock and looked toward the forest. What he saw made his heart pound. A line of giant striped beasts, something like Earth's tigers but twice the size, was moving out of the trees. Their eyes glowed with gold fire, and on their backs rode tall armored figures. They shone with the same silver-blue skin as the alien he had helped. The air shimmered around them, carrying a low rhythmic hum that vibrated in his bones. At the front of the line was a warrior with long braided hair and eyes like liquid steel. Beside him rode another figure covered in white silk, her face hidden behind a veil that caught the sunlight. They stopped only a few meters away from Daniel. The giant beasts snorted and pawed the earth, their fangs flashing. Daniel stood still, his pulse racing. He didn't know whether to run or speak. The warrior dismounted and walked toward him. "You gave water to the wounded," the alien said in clear, rough English. "You saved one of our kin." Daniel's mouth went dry. I just helped someone in trouble." The alien nodded slowly as if measuring his words. Then he motioned toward the veiled figure. "Our laws bind us to repay life with life." The woman on the tiger dismounted, her movements graceful. She removed the veil and Daniel gasped. Her eyes were the same bright blue as the one he had saved, and her face glowed faintly in the sunlight. She looked young, calm, and familiar. The warrior stepped aside and spoke again. "She is the sister of the one you saved. She brings the gift of union between our people." Daniel blinked, confused. "Union? What do you mean?" Before he could finish, the woman stepped closer, holding a small crystal bowl filled with water from the same river. She dipped her fingers into it and touched his forehead. The water shimmered, forming a soft glow that spread across his skin. The others lowered their heads in what looked like respect. Daniel felt a strange warmth inside him. It wasn't fear anymore, it was connection. The tribe had come not for war, but for gratitude. Yet deep in his heart, he sensed this was only the beginning of something far bigger than kindness. The ground beneath his feet pulsed once, as if the planet itself was alive and aware of what had just happened. The tigers growled softly, the riders whispering in their strange tongue. The air smelled of rain and metal. Daniel realized that this moment, offering a sip of water to a dying alien, had changed everything. As the tribe surrounded him in silence, the veiled woman raised her hand to the sky. Above them, clouds gathered in a spiral, glowing faintly with blue light. Something ancient had been awakened. Daniel stood still, staring up, not knowing if he had just earned their friendship or called upon something far greater and far more dangerous. Daniel stood frozen as the sky continued to swirl above him, the strange blue light reflecting off the metallic armor of the alien riders. The massive beasts they rode shifted restlessly, their tails flicking and their low growls echoing across the valley. The veiled woman lowered her hand and the sky slowly cleared. A soft wind passed between them, carrying a faint hum that sounded almost like a heartbeat. The tall warrior who had spoken before stepped forward again. "You are safe among us, human," he said in a deep voice. "You have earned the blessing of the Aaron clan." Daniel swallowed hard. "I didn't expect any of this," he said carefully. "I just gave your friend some water." The warrior's expression didn't change. "A small act of mercy can move mountains on our world," he said. "You gave life. We repay life." Before Daniel could ask what that meant, two riders dismounted and approached with a long, curved device made of silver stone. They placed it on the ground in front of him. The surface rippled like water and projected an image, his crashed ship still lying in the canyon. Only now it was surrounded by strange plants glowing faintly. Daniel took a step closer. "That's my ship," he whispered. "How do you know about it?" The warrior turned his head toward the veiled woman. She removed the covering once more and spoke in a soft, melodic tone. "We watched you," she said. "When you helped my brother, you were seen by the spirits of this land. They showed us your face." Her words sent a chill down his spine. The air around her shimmered faintly with energy, like invisible wings unfolding. Daniel didn't understand their technology or their magic, but he could feel it humming in the air, alive and aware. "I don't know what to say," Daniel murmured. The warrior nodded toward the woman. "Say nothing yet. There is more you must see." He raised his arm, and one of the great beasts lowered itself beside Daniel. Its glowing eyes met his, and Daniel felt a strange calm wash over him. The warrior gestured. "Ride." Daniel hesitated but climbed up carefully. The animal's fur was soft and warm, its muscles moving with quiet power beneath him. The woman mounted her own beast beside his, and with a low command from the warrior, the entire group began to move. They rode across open plains where the grass shimmered like silver threads. Strange trees with glowing roots lined the path, and the air carried the scent of rain and metal. Daniel tried to take it all in, but his thoughts kept circling back to the woman riding next to him. She said nothing, but her eyes, glowing faintly blue, met his every few moments. There was something gentle there, something curious. After a long ride, they reached a wide valley filled with enormous stones shaped like towers. In the center stood a crystal structure, pulsing with soft light. The riders dismounted and motioned for Daniel to follow. Inside, the air was cool and full of echoes. At the heart of the chamber stood a pool of clear water, glowing faintly from beneath. The warrior placed his hand over it, and an image appeared, Daniel giving water to the injured alien, the one he had helped the night before. The woman stepped closer. "My brother lives because of you," she said quietly. "Our people were hunted. He was left to die. You changed his fate." Daniel looked at her. "I just did what anyone would have done." Her expression softened. "No," she said. "Others would have walked away." The warrior turned toward him again. "Our laws demand balance. We cannot take life freely, nor can we accept a gift without return. The sister of the saved must offer her bond to the Savior." Daniel blinked. "Bond, you mean?" The woman's eyes lowered. "It is our way," she said softly. "A bond of honor. A protection." He took a step back, unsure how to respond. He hadn't come here for reward or tradition. He had just helped someone in need. But as he looked around, he realized something else. These people were not just repaying kindness. They were testing him. Before he could say anything more, the ground trembled beneath them. The light from the pool flickered. A deep rumbling sound rolled across the chamber, and the warriors immediately reached for their weapons. "What's happening?" Daniel asked. The warrior's eyes hardened. "They followed us," he said darkly. "The ones who tried to kill her brother." Outside, the roar of beasts filled the air again, but this time it wasn't the tribe's tigers. The sky turned red and shadows moved through the trees, fast and hungry. The woman turned to Daniel, her calm gone. "You must come with us," she said quickly. "They will kill you too." Daniel's heart pounded as the sound of battle cries rose from the valley. The warrior drew a long, glowing blade. "The time for repayment is not over," he said. "Your fate is tied to ours now, human." Before Daniel could react, the wall behind them shattered, and a creature unlike anything he had ever seen lunged through. A tall, insect-like being with burning eyes and a mouth full of teeth. Daniel ducked as the warrior swung his blade, light slicing through the air. The battle had begun, and Daniel realized, too late, that his single act of kindness had pulled him into a war between species far older and far deadlier than he could have ever imagined. The chamber shook as the sound of battle thundered outside. Daniel pressed himself against a stone pillar, his ears ringing from the explosion that tore open the wall. The alien warrior swung his glowing blade, slicing through one of the insect-like attackers that burst through the hole. The creature fell with a horrible shriek, its black blood splattering the floor. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burned metal. "Stay close to me, human," the warrior shouted. His voice echoed like a drumbeat. "They came for the blood of our tribe." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He grabbed a sharp fragment of metal from the broken wall, hardly a weapon, but better than nothing. The veiled woman had her hand raised, her eyes glowing bright blue. She whispered something in her language, and suddenly, the pool in the center of the room began to glow brighter. Water rose into the air like living glass, forming a barrier that shimmered around them. "Go," the warrior commanded. "Through the back tunnel." Daniel hesitated. "What about you?" The warrior struck down another attacker, his armor flashing in the blue light. "I will hold them off. Protect the bondkeeper." Daniel turned to the woman, who was already moving toward the tunnel hidden behind the crystal wall. The earth trembled again as explosions echoed above. She glanced back only once, her eyes meeting his. "Run!" she cried. They sprinted through the narrow passage, the walls glowing faintly with strange symbols that seemed to move on their own. Daniel could still hear the clash of weapons behind them, the roars of beasts and the hissing of the insect creatures. His lungs burned, but adrenaline kept him running. At the end of the tunnel, they emerged into a large cavern filled with glowing roots and pools of light. The air was damp and heavy, and faint whispers seemed to come from the walls themselves. The woman slowed down, her breathing calm despite the chaos. Daniel leaned against a rock, trying to catch his breath. "Who are they?" he asked between gasps. "Those things that attacked us." Her face darkened. "The Skarath," she said quietly. "They feed on energy, on life. They destroyed many of our colonies. My brother was hurt because of them." Daniel stared at her, his mind spinning. "And now they're coming for you again?" She nodded. "And for you too. You touch the sacred water. You carry our energy now. They will sense it." Before Daniel could respond, a rumble came from above. Dust fell from the ceiling and a deep roar echoed through the cavern. The woman's expression changed from calm to urgency. "They found us." She touched her wrist and a small glowing sphere appeared in her palm. She threw it into the air and it expanded into a shimmering shield above them, just as part of the ceiling collapsed. Rocks crashed down, bouncing off the invisible barrier. "Is that going to hold?" Daniel shouted over the noise. "Only for a short time," she replied. "We need to reach the surface." They ran again, this time through twisting tunnels lit by bioluminescent plants. Strange creatures darted in the shadows, watching but not attacking. The deeper they went, the more Daniel noticed the strange pulsing light inside the walls, as if the planet itself was alive and watching them. Finally, they emerged into the open air on the side of a steep cliff. Below them, the valley burned with fire. The tribe's tigers fought fiercely, their roars echoing across the land. The warriors' blades flashed as they clashed with the Skarath. Daniel could see the leader, the warrior from before, still standing, surrounded by enemies. The woman raised her hand and shouted a word Daniel didn't understand. The sky above them rippled and streaks of blue energy shot downward like lightning. It struck the Skarath army, tearing through their ranks. For a moment, the battlefield glowed with light so bright it blinded him. When Daniel opened his eyes again, the creatures were retreating. The surviving warriors were regrouping, and the great beasts roared in victory. The woman lowered her arm, trembling slightly from the effort. Daniel stepped forward, steadying her before she could fall. You just saved them," he said. Her lips curved into a small, tired smile. "We saved them," she said softly. "Together." Before Daniel could say more, the warrior approached them, his armor scorched but his eyes bright. "The Skarath will return," he warned. "This was only a small hunting pack. Their hives are near." He turned his gaze to Daniel. "You must come with us to the sacred plain. The council must see the one who carries the river's mark." Daniel frowned. "The river's mark?" The woman reached up and gently touched his forehead. The spot where she had placed the water earlier now glowed faintly with blue light. You are part of our world now, she said. The bond cannot be undone. Daniel stared at her, unsure whether to feel honored or terrified. The warrior gave a short nod. The bond joins your fate with ours. If we fall, so do you. In the distance, thunder rolled, not from the storm but from engines. Dark shapes were moving in the sky, large and fast. Daniel's heart sank. Let me guess, he muttered, looking up. That's not good news. The woman's voice was barely above a whisper. No, she said. That is the Skarath mothership. And as its shadow spread across the burning valley, Daniel realized his simple act of kindness had turned into the beginning of an interplanetary war. The sky darkened as the massive Skarath mothership descended through the clouds. Its surface shimmered like black glass, covered with pulsating red veins that glowed with power. The air vibrated with a deep mechanical hum that made Daniel's bones ache. Around him, the Aaron warriors looked up with grim determination. The tigers beneath them growled, their glowing eyes reflecting the burning light from above. Daniel felt a hand touch his shoulder. The woman, Elira, as he had learned her name was, stood beside him. Her eyes were calm, but her face was pale. This is only the beginning, she said quietly. The Skarath Queen has come. He stared up at the enormous ship. You mean, that thing isn't just a transport? No, she replied. It's alive. It's their hive. The word sent a chill down Daniel's spine. The ship opened like a flower, and from its core, thousands of smaller pods began to fall, streaking through the sky like fireballs. Each one hit the ground with a flash, releasing swarms of the insect-like creatures he had seen before. The warrior leader shouted orders in his language. The Aaron tribe spread into formation, the ground trembling beneath their beasts. Blue fire flared along their weapons, and strange glowing symbols appeared on their armor. Daniel had no weapon, only courage and fear. Elira turned to him. Stay close to me, she said. The bond protects you, but not forever. Before he could respond, one of the pods crashed just meters away, throwing dirt and smoke into the air. A Skarath soldier crawled out hissing, its claws sharp like blades. Daniel backed away as Elira raised her hand and unleashed a wave of blue energy. The creature exploded into dust. She stumbled slightly, and Daniel caught her before she fell. That takes a lot out of you, doesn't it? She nodded weakly. The power of the river is not endless. It must be renewed at the sacred plane. Then we get there, Daniel said firmly. Tell me how. Before Elira could answer, the warrior leader galloped toward them on his beast. The path to the sacred plane is blocked, he roared. The Skarath control the valley. Elira's eyes glowed faintly. Then we make another path. She pressed her palm to the ground. The earth trembled. Cracks formed, spreading like veins of light. And then the ground split open to reveal an ancient tunnel descending into darkness. Daniel looked down the hole. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. We're going down there? It is the only way, Elira said. The path of the first ones. No Skarath can follow there. The warrior nodded and motioned for the tribe to move. One by one, the riders guided their giant tigers into the tunnel. The beasts growled nervously but obeyed. Daniel followed Elira closely, his heart pounding as the light from above vanished behind them. Inside, the air was thick and cold. Bioluminescent vines lit the walls, and strange symbols glowed as they passed. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, filled with floating crystals that pulsed like stars. It was beautiful and haunting. Elira spoke softly as they walked. This place is older than our tribes, she said. Built by the ones who first came from the stars. It is said they were not so different from you. Daniel frowned. Humans? She smiled faintly. Perhaps. Long ago, the Aaron and the humans shared the same ancestors. The river remembers, Daniel blinked. The idea sounded impossible, yet something deep inside him stirred. The glowing mark on his forehead pulsed gently, almost as if agreeing with her. Before he could respond, a thunderous crash echoed from behind. The tunnel shook violently, dust falling from the ceiling. The warrior leader shouted, They found another way in. Swarms of Skarath poured from cracks in the walls, their wings buzzing like chainsaws. The tribe formed a defensive ring around Elira and Daniel. Blades clashed, beams of light flashed, and the cavern filled with the roar of battle. Daniel picked up a fallen warrior's weapon, a short, curved blade humming with energy. He swung it clumsily at a Skarath that lunged at him, barely managing to block its claws. Sparks flew. Elira turned, raised both hands, and shouted a word that made the air explode with light. Dozens of enemies vanished into ash, but she screamed as the glow on her hands dimmed. Daniel rushed to her side. "Elira, what's happening?" She gasped. "My strength. It's leaving me. The bond must be renewed now, or we both will die." The warrior leader, bleeding from a wound, pointed toward the far end of the cavern, where a soft, blue light shimmered like a doorway. "The plane lies beyond that portal." Without thinking, Daniel lifted Elira into his arms and ran. The ground quaked, the Scarith screeching behind him. Energy blasts struck the walls around them, spraying shards of glowing rock. Daniel dove through the portal just as the tunnel collapsed behind them. He landed hard on soft grass. The air was clear, glowing faintly under a night sky filled with floating islands and rivers of light. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Elira stirred weakly in his arms. "You made it," she whispered. Daniel looked around, awed. "Where are we?" Her lips curved in a faint smile. "The sacred plane of the first ones," she said. "And now, human, the river will decide if you truly belong among us." The ground beneath them began to glow, blue streams of light swirling like liquid stars. The air vibrated with power. Daniel felt the mark on his forehead burn brighter, connecting with the energy of the land. As the light rose around them, he realized this was not just a place, it was alive, ancient, and watching. And it was about to test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Daniel stood in awe as the sacred plane pulsed with blue light. The ground beneath his feet shimmered like liquid glass, each ripple echoing his heartbeat. The stars above were not stars at all. They moved like living eyes, watching the two figures at the center of the ancient field. Elira stepped away from him, her bare feet glowing faintly against the luminous soil. The wind lifted her hair and her voice carried softly through the still air. "The river remembers who is worthy," she said. "Now it will test your heart." Daniel frowned, still trying to understand. "A test? I didn't ask for this bond. I just helped someone who was hurt." Elira smiled faintly. "And that is why you were chosen. The river calls only those who act without seeking reward." Before Daniel could respond, the plane began to change. Blue light gathered around them, forming shapes, shadows of beings made of pure energy. They circled him, whispering in a language he could almost understand. The air grew heavy and Daniel felt something press into his mind. Suddenly, he wasn't standing on the plane anymore. He was somewhere else, inside a storm of memory. He saw Earth, but not as he remembered it. Cities burned. The sky was black with ships. He saw humans fighting, not aliens, but themselves. A voice echoed through the chaos. "Humanity is its own greatest threat." Daniel clutched his head. "No, that's not who we are," he shouted. The vision shifted. He saw himself again at the riverbank, giving water to the injured alien. This time the water glowed brighter, and the alien's eyes reflected stars. "One act of mercy can balance 1,000 acts of war," the voice said. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was back on the plane, kneeling on the glowing ground. Elira stood before him, her expression soft but solemn. "You saw it, didn't you?" she asked quietly. He nodded, shaken. "It showed me what we've done, and what we could become." Elira placed a hand on his chest. "The river does not judge. It remembers, and it remembers kindness." The ground began to pulse again, brighter than before. Streams of light rose and wrapped around Daniel, flowing into the mark on his forehead. The pain was sharp but pure, like fire and water at once. He gasped as visions flashed before his eyes, ships flying through galaxies, humans standing beside Aran warriors fighting together against the Scarith. Then, everything went still. The light faded. Elira knelt beside him, her voice trembling. "It has accepted you," she whispered. "You are no longer just human, you are of the Aran now." Daniel touched the glowing mark on his skin. "So, what happens now?" Before she could answer, a sound cut through the silence, a distant roar, deep and thunderous. Elira's eyes widened. The Scarith have found a way in. The plane's shield is failing. A bright flash split the horizon. The mothership's shadow spread across the sacred field like a storm. Beams of red energy struck the edges of the plane and explosions rippled across the light. "Their queen wants the river's heart," Elira said urgently. "If she takes it, she will drain all life from this world." Daniel stood, his pulse racing. "Then we stop her." The warrior leader emerged from the shadows with his armor scorched and cracked. He looked at Daniel with something close to respect. "The river has chosen you," he said. "Then you will lead with us." Daniel stared at him. "Lead? I barely understand what's happening." The warrior grinned grimly. "Then learn fast. The queen comes." The sky tore open, and from the light descended a massive figure, the Scarath queen. Her body was part metal, part living crystal, her wings stretching wide enough to block the stars. Her voice echoed across the plain like thunder. "You think one human can defy me?" Daniel stepped forward, gripping the glowing blade he had carried from the caverns. "No," he said. "But one act of mercy already did." The queen shrieked, the ground trembling beneath her. The Aran warriors charged. The tigers roared and leaped into the air, glowing like comets. Beams of red and blue light clashed, painting the night in fire. Elira joined her hands and summoned the river's power once more. Streams of waterlight swirled around her, merging with Daniel's mark. The glow between them grew brighter until it formed a single massive surge of energy. Daniel felt it, her heartbeat merging with his, her strength flowing through his body. Together they raised the blade, its edge burning with the color of starlight. The Scarath queen roared and dove toward them. The air cracked with force as the two energies collided. For a moment the world disappeared in white light. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was falling through the air, clutching Elira's hand as the queen's scream faded into the distance. The sky above them split with light, and the river's voice whispered again, soft, endless, and full of promise. One act of mercy can change a universe. And as they fell toward the heart of the battlefield, Daniel realized this was not the end. It was only the beginning of humanity's legend among the stars. The battlefield was chaos. Blue and red lights tore through the air as the Aran warriors clashed with the Scarath swarm. The sky burned with fire, and the ground trembled beneath the power of ancient forces unleashed. Daniel hit the ground hard, rolling through the glowing grass. He coughed, his vision blurred, and saw Elira beside him, weak, her hands glowing faintly with the last of her strength. He reached for her. "Elira, are you hurt?" She shook her head slowly. "Not yet, but the bond is fading. If the river's heart dies, so will I. So will you." Daniel glanced toward the center of the plain where a massive crystal pulsed with dim blue light, the heart she spoke of. The Scarath queen was approaching it, her huge metallic wings spreading wide, absorbing the energy like a storm cloud. Around her, hundreds of Scarath soldiers swarmed, blocking any path to the crystal. The Aran warriors fought fiercely, but they were outnumbered. Daniel could see the leader, bloodied but unbroken, still fighting from atop his tiger, cutting down enemies in blinding arcs of blue fire. Yet even his power was fading. Daniel clenched his fists. "We can't let her take it." Elira's eyes met his. "Then we must awaken what sleeps beneath the plain." He frowned. "What does that mean?" She looked up at the sky where lightning flashed in a spiral above them. "The river's heart is not only a source, it is a guardian. But it needs two souls to call it, one born of this world, and one from beyond." Daniel realized what she meant. "You and me," Elira nodded weakly. "Our bond connects two species, two hearts. That is the balance the river needs." Before he could argue, the ground erupted nearby. A Scarath beast leaped toward them, its claws flashing. Daniel grabbed a fallen blade and swung with all his strength, slicing through its chest. The creature fell, screeching. He turned back to Elira. "Tell me what to do." She placed her hand on his chest, her palm glowing faintly. "When the time comes, you must not resist. The river will enter through your heart and mine. It will see everything, your fears, your pain, your memories. You must stay strong." Daniel swallowed hard but nodded. "Then let's do it." Elira smiled softly, her voice barely a whisper. "Hold my hand," their fingers intertwined. The mark on Daniel's forehead flared with blinding light. The plain beneath them rippled and the crystal heart began to hum louder. Energy swirled around them in a spiral, lifting stones, sand, and light into the air. The Scarath queen turned sharply, sensing the power awakening. "Fools," she hissed, her voice echoing like thunder. "You dare to summon the river? It will consume you," Daniel shouted over the roar of the wind. "Then it'll take you with us." Elira closed her eyes, whispering words in her language. The blue light around them grew brighter, turning white. Daniel felt heat rush through him, but it wasn't painful, it was pure, alive. The memories of his life flashed before him. Earth, The crash, the moment he gave the alien water, and every heartbeat since. Then came visions not his own. Elira's memories, her people, their ancient wars, the loss of her brother, and her loneliness before he arrived. The two lives merged, their emotions twisting into one pulse. The crystal heart exploded into light. A massive wave of blue energy shot outward, vaporizing the Skarath swarm in seconds. The queen screamed as the energy struck her, her wings shattering like glass. She tried to resist, raising her arms, but the light pierced through her chest, and she dissolved into nothingness. The ground stilled. The sky cleared. The war was over. Daniel collapsed, the glow fading from his skin. Elira lay beside him, her eyes closed, breathing weakly. The once blazing plain was calm again, the river's heart now glowing softly in peace. He turned toward her, his voice trembling. "You did it, we did it." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "You carried the river with courage," she whispered. "No human ever has." Daniel took her hand gently. "Stay with me. Don't fade." She shook her head. "The bond must rest now, but we are not lost. You will carry a part of me, always." He felt warmth spread through his chest as her hand grew lighter, fading into soft light. The mark on his forehead glowed one last time before dimming. "Goodbye, Daniel," she said softly, her body dissolving into shimmering particles that rose into the air like stars. Daniel sat silently, his eyes following the blue sparks as they floated upward. The Aran warriors gathered around him, their heads bowed in reverence. The leader dismounted his beast and knelt before him. "The river chose well," he said. "You are one of us now, Daniel of Earth. The bond lives through you." Daniel stared at the glowing horizon where the sun began to rise. The sky turned gold, and the wind whispered through the grass. For the first time since his crash, he didn't feel lost. He felt connected. In the distance, the sacred river shimmered again, whispering softly. And deep within his heart, he could still hear Elira's voice, gentle, eternal, like a song carried by the wind. The war was over. But the legend of the human who gave water to a dying alien had only just begun. The morning light spread slowly across the sacred plain, bathing everything in soft gold. The battlefield that had once burned with chaos was now silent, the air thick with the scent of dew and smoke. Daniel stood alone beside the glowing crystal heart, his reflection shimmering faintly on its surface. The mark on his forehead still pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat that was not entirely his own. He felt her absence deeply. Elira's voice had faded into the wind, but her warmth lingered like sunlight just beyond reach. The Aran warriors had gathered their wounded, their tigers resting quietly nearby. For the first time in memory, there was peace. Yet Daniel could not shake the feeling that something unfinished still stirred beneath that calm. The Aran leader approached, his armor cracked but his posture proud. He carried in his hand a staff made from the river's crystal, its light glowing faintly blue. "The queen is gone," he said solemnly. "But her hive is not. The Skarath live beyond the dark horizon, and they will rise again." Daniel turned to face him. "Then we prepare," he said firmly. "We don't run this time." The warrior nodded, a hint of respect in his eyes. "You speak as one of us." He paused, studying Daniel for a long moment. "But your path is not here, human. The river's mark chose you for something greater. The stars are calling." Daniel frowned. "The stars?" The warrior pointed toward the horizon. Above it, strange lights shimmered, like ships made of pure energy. "Our ancestors once walked between worlds," he said. "The bond you share with Elira has reopened the way. The gate will lead you to where she now resides beyond the flow of time." Daniel's heart skipped. "You mean she's alive?" The warrior smiled faintly. "Not as before, but her essence endures. She guards the river's heart from the realm beyond." Hope flickered inside him, fragile yet bright. "Then I have to go." The warrior bowed his head. "Then go with honor." The bond's strength will guide you. He handed Daniel the crystal staff. The moment Daniel touched it, light coursed up his arm. The mark on his forehead flared once more, brighter than ever before. The air trembled and the plane began to hum. From the crystal heart, a beam of light shot upward, piercing the clouds. It twisted into a spiraling vortex, a gate of shimmering blue energy. The wind howled, lifting dust and petals into the air. The Aaron warriors stepped back, bowing their heads in reverence. Daniel took a deep breath. "Guess I've always wanted to see the stars," he said softly. He stepped into the light. For a moment there was nothing, just silence and the sensation of floating through water and fire at once. Then, slowly, shapes began to form around him. He stood on a bridge made of light, stretching across a vast cosmic ocean. Stars moved beneath his feet. Ahead he saw her. Elira stood at the end of the bridge, radiant and calm. Her body was made of light now, her eyes like twin stars. "You came," she said softly. Daniel's chest tightened. "You said you'd always be part of me. I had to find you." She smiled, that same gentle warmth he had felt since the day by the river. "And you did." He walked closer, stopping only a few steps away. "Is this real?" She nodded. "It is as real as the bond that connects us. You carry my essence now. Through you, our worlds are one." Daniel looked down at the swirling light beneath them. "So this is the river?" "Yes," she said. "The river of memory. It flows through all living worlds. Every act of kindness sends ripples through it, changing everything, even across galaxies." He reached out and she took his hand. Her touch was warm, though she was no longer flesh and blood. "You gave me water," she said softly, "and in return, you gave my people hope." Daniel's eyes glistened. "And you gave me purpose." They stood in silence, surrounded by endless stars. Then Elira's gaze lifted toward the horizon, where shadows moved in the distance, vast shapes coiling like storm clouds. "The river is not done flowing," she whispered. "The Scarith are not finished. But neither are we." Daniel followed her gaze. The shadows stretched far and wide, reaching toward distant worlds. He felt no fear this time, only resolve. "Then we fight together," he said. Elira smiled, her glow growing brighter. "Together," she agreed. The light beneath them surged. The bridge widened, revealing countless paths of energy stretching toward unknown galaxies. Each path shimmered with life, some blue and peaceful, others red and burning. Elira looked at him one last time. "Go where the river leads, Daniel. Protect those who cannot fight. Heal what others have broken. That is how the river grows." Daniel wanted to speak, but before he could, her form began to fade into light. Her voice echoed, soft and eternal. "Remember, the smallest kindness can awaken the greatest power." The light expanded, swallowing everything in a blinding wave. When Daniel opened his eyes again, he was standing on the bridge of a spaceship. Through the window, he saw the stars, millions of them, glowing brighter than ever. The mark on his forehead still pulsed softly, and in his hand, the crystal staff shimmered faintly blue. The ship's systems hummed to life. On the screen ahead, coordinates appeared, unfamiliar worlds awaiting. Daniel smiled, his heart calm yet burning with purpose. He whispered to the stars, "All right, Elira, let's finish what we started." And as the ship soared into the endless night, a thin trail of blue light followed behind, like the flow of a river stretching forever through the universe, carrying the legend of one human who gave water to a dying alien, and awakened the bond that would change galaxies forever.